So I've memorized, studying for the CPC, studying to memorize this CPC. I've memorized the first one, which is confidentiality, the second one, which is professionalism, the third one, which is conduct, and today the fourth one is respecting clients. And I don't know if this is going to help you or not, because it's, as I'm realizing when you're studying and trying to memorize stuff, it's really personal. How I'm going to remember it maybe won't help you. But for the four, I really wanted to just get like an acronym, like, letters. And so for me, we lived 8 years in Laie, Hawaii, and it just so happened as I was looking at those 4 tenets, there was L-A-I-E, and I was like, oh, Laie, so that's going to be easy for me to remember. But maybe not for you. So what I would recommend for you is to just look at the 4 and come up with a 4-letter word that you can remember, to remember each of the 4 things. So for me, the first one is L, and language. And like I said, I haven't memorized it word for word yet, but language meaning use the language most readily accessible to the client. Their language preference, if it's transliteration, ASL, C, whatever. Next is A, approach your clients professionally, respectfully, be professional. And I is, if you're going to bring an intern, or if an intern has asked you, not an intern, what's it called? Someone who's like, maybe it's called an intern, someone who just wants to watch and observe, you have to get permission from your clients. And then the last one is equal access, that you want it to be as smooth as possible and fair, equal for both the hearing and the deaf person. And that's something a lot of times as interpreters we think, I know when I was first starting out, I kind of always thought of, well, my client is the deaf consumer, the deaf person. And that's not true. We're supposed to be doing this back and forth. And we also have a hearing client at the situation that we need to be mindful of also. There was a situation where, we focus so much on making sure there's great lighting and what we wear and, setting up everything so that it's optimal for the interpretation to the deaf client. But it's just as important for the hearing client to be comfortable as well. And I've run into that. One time I was working at a university setting, and I've worked at 5 or 6 universities in different states: Maryland, California, Hawaii, Utah, so anyway, it's keeping things confidential. This could have happened anywhere. This is pretty common. But we were going to talk to someone who worked in a really small cubicle. And the way this person had set up their cubicle was, and I understand why, but their desk was pretty much right at the entrance of their cubicle. And there was one little chair there. And so when we went to talk to this person, I was thinking, okay, we got to have the line, sight. So I went behind the desk where there was all this room, because, this person had a filing cabinet and their computer, different things, boxes and stuff back there. And so I was thinking, normally you have the deaf person, the hearing person, and then you're somewhere, where they can be in the line of sight and have a normal conversation. So I just kind of set up. I went behind the desk and was standing beside the person, and they were very uncomfortable and wanted me to move, and really the only place for me to move was pretty much at the entrance of their cubicle, which I thought, okay, so here's the deaf person and they have to look this way while I sign, so that it was awful. The line of sight was awful, and it was so awkward. And so then the hearing person naturally was like, can you please tell them this? It wasn't intuitive for them to actually have a conversation together. It was very much of a triangle. And I was very frustrated. I didn't appreciate that person's whole attitude to the whole process, and I felt like the hearing person wasn't very respectful and stuff. And so I stewed about it for a little while, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to go talk to my supervisor, because I thought, maybe this department needs a little sensitivity awareness. Maybe this department needs to have a little feedback about how to work with the deaf students at this, educational university setting. And the supervisor, this goes along with the CPC. I'm allowed to share information with my supervisor, confidentiality. We didn't get into the specifics of what happened, the details, but just the process. And that was a real learning moment for me, because the supervisor said, you know what, I'll look into it, but Laura, that hearing person is your client also, and you need to respect them, and they maybe don't want you behind their desk looking at their computer and stuff. I mean, maybe there was confidential stuff there that they were trying to protect, and so it was a good teaching moment for me that I need to be just as respectful and considerate of the hearing person, what they feel comfortable with. And you'll get people who are presenting, hearing presenters, who don't want you to shadow them, even though maybe that would be the best thing. They don't want you standing at the podium next to them, even though maybe that is the best thing. And you need to be flexible and work with both. Because they want to do their best presentation, and maybe, that's distracting if they're going to be seeing your hands moving and they're not used to that. And so maybe they want you somewhere else. And anyway, so the hearing person is an equal partner. And that's why I'm jabbering on about that, is they are an equal partner in this process. And so we need to respect them just as much as we are respecting the deaf person's rights. And anyway, so not great tips for you unless you want to memorize La EA as use the language that's most requested by that client, the requested language or the needed language, mode of language. Because some deaf clients feel like, oh, I'm so strong ASL, I want ASL. And then when you're trying your best to give them pure ASL, you realize I need to maybe make this a little bit more, it's not quite ASL. And anyway, but use the language that's most readily accessible. I usually watch them sign, try to communicate with them before the assignment to get a feel of their signing style, and then kind of mirror how they sign. And sometimes, like I said, I've worked all over the place. There's local signs, and especially in VRS, we get calls from all over the country, and there's local signs, and I'll see, oh, that's how they signed that. Well, I know where we live, we sign it this way, but because they signed it that way, I'm going to use their sign. So we accommodate to what language they prefer. So that's L. A is we approach clients respectfully, professionally. My example that I didn't handle very well. Hopefully you can learn from that. The hearing person is also a client in this, and approach them respectfully and mindful of, how they feel. I is if you're going to bring an intern, you have to get it approved by both. You have to ask the deaf client, would you feel comfortable having an intern there? Maybe they wouldn't. The hearing person, would you mind if we had an extra person in your whatever? And they might not want that either. So, you have to disclose that. And then E, it has to be equal accessibility for everyone. So, okay. And I wish I had the paper just to make sure, but that's where I'm at right now in my study. So, okay, we're doing it. We're on number 4. If my word doesn't make sense to you, look, I almost got rain, but then an N. I couldn't get an N at the end. I was trying to find a 4-letter word. But so hopefully that'll help for you for this tip for the 4, respect the consumer, for the CPC test. And sorry, this was really rambly and stuff. Okay, we'll see you later.